Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us again for another episode of Midnight Ace Book Bar. Today, we're not talking about books and booze, but today we have a special guest. Our guest is Booker T. Mattison. This man wears many hats. He is an author. He's a filmmaker, and he is also a professor and a director too, somewhere in there as well. Right. So he wears many hats. So welcome, Booker T, and thank you again for joining us. Tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
Sure. I'm a filmmaker by training, so I'm a screenwriter and a director, and as you noted, I'm also a professor at the University of Georgia, where I teach directing and screenwriting. So, I'm often quite busy, but it's nice to be able to be doing the very things that I'm teaching and that my students are doing. So essentially, they're working on projects and I'm working on projects. So it makes it an interesting experience in the classroom.
Right. And I bet it stays interesting and never gets boring.
Absolutely. 100%.
Well, today we're talking about your new film that is set to air on September 7th. So this is a few days before. So we having like a pre-release kind of thing here.
That's right.
But before we go to that, I want to check back in with you to find out how everything was going with the project that we talked about before, which was last year, late last year. It was The Sound of Christmas.
Yes.
Yeah.
The Sound of Christmas, which was an adaptation of Tiffany O. Warren's novel, The Replacement Wife, was a BET Plus original film that was released last Thanksgiving, and it was
Hmm.
the number one film on BET Plus last December, and the network submitted it for Emmy consideration for Outstanding TV Movie in June. We didn't ultimately get a nomination for an Emmy, but being in the conversation was great. So that was most definitely exciting and successful beyond what I could have imagined. So that was a lot of fun working with Neo, Soraya, and Drea Michelle for The Sound of Christmas.
Yeah, I saw the movie. I thought it was really good. And congratulations on that nomination too. When I saw that, I thought, all right, this is pretty cool. So congratulations on that, and we wish you many more of those. So now that we've checked in with that, let's go. Let's come on and move forward and find out what you're working on now. So we have this twisted marriage therapist, and from what I think we talked about, this is not an adaptation.
No, this is an original screenplay, so it's not an adaptation. So it's different in that regard, and genre wise, it's well, you know what? It couldn't be more different. I don't.
I was gonna say.
Beyond the fact that I wrote it and directed it, it couldn't be more different.
Right, right. Hey, Louise, we just gonna say hello to some of the people that's popping in there. Hey, Louise, how's it going? Thank you so much for popping in. Hey, Sharita, what's going on? Thank you so much for popping in and hanging out with us. So now, when I saw this, and I right away I saw the trailer, and I said this is heavy on the twisted side, which is I think what you want for a film like this because it's like a psychological thriller. So I think that is the reaction you want is heavy on the twisted side.
Yes,
But I have to ask, because we coming from a Sound of Christmas to this, I
yes.
have to ask, where did this come from? What inspired this?
That, that's a question that you know people are like, well, where did it come from? And I consider myself to be a student of the human condition, and it's something that I encourage my students to be. So I observe humanity, I listen. I'm also well acquainted with human nature, and I have an active imagination.
Okay.
So this movie, I did a show. A friend of mine has a show, and I did it last night. And then his co-host asked me, Booker, what happened to you? What happened in your marriage that you would make this movie? And no, this is not a reflection of my own marriage, as twisted as it is. And for those just not tuning in, Twisted Marriage Therapist is the story of a celebrity marriage counselor who gets the husband of a couple she's counseling committed so she can steal his wife. So it is indeed quite twisted. It's very dark, very sexy, and very good, I might
Mm.
also add.
Well, I'm looking forward to checking it out because just based on the characteristics that you just gave it, I don't know, it's going to be something. But now, so you wrote this, you screen wrote this, so it's not an adaptation, so this is clearly from your head, right? And so you're by you being a professor, you also being a director. And so in this one you screen wrote and you are the director, so you're wearing a few different hats. So when you are doing this and you working, how do you engage your cast and your crew and make sure that they stay motivated and focused on bringing your vision to light?
Well, it's something that the late Bill Riley, who was a film school professor of mine, he said that the script is the coin of the realm. So it begins with the screenplay, and even with an adaptation, you have a book, but then you have a screenplay, and those two
Mhm.
things are not the same. So with a book, yes, the characters and the world and the basic premise is there for you. You still have to create a story, a
Mhm.
screen story. You can't just put the book on
Mhm.
the screen. So it all begins with the script, and the two things that are most important skills for a director to have is pre-visualization, the ability to see the whole thing before it happens.
Mhm.
Same
Yeah.
thing for an author, right? Pre-visualization,
Right.
see the whole story before it happens. But then communication, and that's specifically related to the question that you asked. So once I've seen the whole thing,
Mhm.
then I have to communicate that to my cinematographer, to the network, to the production company, the costume designer, etc. And that happens with quite a few things, from photo research, from a lookbook and a mood board, where you're actually providing images to give a sense of what the mood and the tone will be. Because unlike when you're doing an independent film, which when I was doing short films,
Mhm.
independent films that I was completely in control of, when you're dealing with a network, it's a completely different ball game, because everything that you do is filtered through executives both with the production company and executives with the network. So you can't just say it's all in here. You have to be able to to
Yeah.
show them, and that happens with the lookbook that I developed, which I sent to most everyone. So then you can see images, references, color palette, and then there's also text in there where I explain things related to the film.
So a lot of work goes into this then. Now, would you do this as well if is it the same workflow that you have if it was even an adaptation of a book? So you would still have to provide those visualizations and then some text to go along with it. Now, how do you deal with how do you deal with like someone having another vision outside of what yours is?
Well, I mean, as a director, you're hired to take
Mhm.
this screenplay and translate it to the screen. So there isn't another vision. There will be other people who will sound off on the vision, but that's what you're being hired to do, to take something from the script to the screen. So in the case of, like, say, for example, an executive who may have an idea or a note that, let's say, that I don't agree with, then I have to be able to articulate the reason why I think that this particular choice should remain, in the script, in the film. So I was just telling my students in class today that the things that we're learning in screenwriting, for example, where we're learning structure and we're learning how to craft a screenplay, but the ability to analyze and to discuss and to use these terminologies that we learn to craft an argument helps you whenever you're working professionally, because you can't just say, do it because I said do it. The
Right.
executive doesn't want to hear that. The producer doesn't want to hear that. You have to be able to articulate why. But also, when you get notes, which you do, and you get lots of them, all of the notes have to be addressed. And I would say that, probably 85, 90% of notes, I execute those without question, without issue. But then, that 5 to 10%, those things that I have to be able to craft an argument on why they should remain. And look, I did the same thing as an author. As you
Right.
get notes
Right.
from your editor. It's the same process. Again, most of the notes that I got from editor, wow, great, I hadn't thought about that. But then those ones where you have to articulate a position. I'm the master of the comment bubble, and most of the time, the in the case of when I was writing novels, the editor would agree, and then the same thing with the executives. Most of the time they agree, but then the other part too is when they say no, I want you to do it this way. Then hey, I'm the ultimate team player, and then I will execute the note.
You like security. So we have a comment from the audience. Sharita says she's going to need that wife stealing therapist to be thoroughly killed at the end. I think we all gonna feel some kind of way about that if it's not. So
Yes. At the risk of releasing spoilers, Sharita. Okay, I'll say that I share your sentiment. I do, because we have this visceral reaction to someone who's looking to disrupt a marriage. So you'll have to see, Sharita, what you think about how the movie ends, and I'd love to hear from you. Please, reach out on social media and let me know what you think once you get to the end of it.
yeah. And so this is an independent film, and so it seems that you're airing on Tubu. I can never say that air thing. I think it's Tibu or
Yeah,
Tubu.
Tubi. It's
Tubi,
Tubi.
Tubi.
Yeah,
Okay, so I recently learned about this station really last year, um, back probably late last year. So I didn't even know it was there. So how did you hook up with them to
sure.
do it on that?
Sure. And this actually it isn't an independent film. It's actually a Tubi original film. And
Okay, okay.
let me explain what that means.
Yes.
So just like The Sound of Christmas was a BET Plus original film. So BET Plus is the streaming service for BET. And Tubi is also a streaming service. So like when you have Apple Plus, they'll have an Apple original, or
Hmm.
Netflix will have a Netflix original, or Amazon will have an Amazon original. All of the streamers have original films, original content, and this is content that is actually financed by the streamer itself, and that's designed to generate viewers. So you have a few different things on Tubi, or any streamer for that matter. So you have, in the case of Tubi, there's over 50,000 titles on the streamer from every movie studio and TV network, shows and movies that with actors that that they license.
Hmm.
Then you also have independent films, like you mentioned, that someone will say, you and I, we go out and raise $100,000, and then we make an independent movie, and then we license that movie to Tubi, so that can be found on there. But then you
Okay.
also have the originals, which the I was about to say The Sound of Christmas, which
Hmm.
Twisted Marriage Therapist is. So it's a Tubi original film, and people call um, Tubi free Netflix.
Hmm.
There's 64 million active monthly users, so it's pretty significant, and a lot of people haven't heard about it, but a
Yeah.
whole lot of people have, and there are a lot of devoted fans who have chat rooms and groups where they discuss the movies. So I'm looking forward to the movie releasing on Thursday to see what kind of noise it can make on the streaming platform.
Yeah, yeah. Like I said, I just found out about it. I found out about it by accident because I was traveling somewhere and didn't have a normal stations, didn't have the cable,
Mhm,
and it was a very time that I had a time to watch TV because usually I don't.
mhm.
And so I found out about that, brought them home. So I am now familiar with them. So it was good to see that it's on a network that I can watch it on. Uh,
Yes, and it's free, and doesn't require a subscription for your viewers
which
who are.
is even better.
Yeah, yeah, because that was the challenge with BET Plus. I mean, I loved having the film on the platform, and of course, it's still on the platform. But
Mhm.
I found myself pitching the 7-day free trial as often as I was pitching the movie, because though most people have heard of BET, a lot of people didn't have at least in my circle, didn't have the streaming service. So I'm like, hey,
Yeah,
get the 7-day free trial so you can see the movie. And a lot of people got that 7-day free trial to see the movie, and a
yeah.
lot of them kept it because like, oh wow, there's stuff on here I didn't realize was on here. So
Yeah, I'm one one of those too. Sharita really is probably going to be watching this film to find out what you do with this, because she is that you have sparked some intriguing characteristics from this marriage therapist here.
yeah, absolutely. And her
Yeah.
name is Dr. Yo. So yeah, Dr. Yo. I told Maya Abney plays Dr. Yo, and I've told her, I said, people are going to be stopping you on the street calling you Dr. Yo, because she and you can tell even from the trailer, she plays that role to a T.
But you know what we're used to seeing in parts like that, we're used to seeing that the therapist is trying to have the woman, the female committed or the wife committed so that she can have the husband. So this is going to be quite interesting to,
Quite quite the twist, pun intended.
right, yes, yes, yeah, perfectly said, perfectly said. So now, when you started doing, did you start doing this along? How long did it take you to write this, and when did this come to, in your head? And what made you want to do this? I mean, obviously you're creative, so you start with a thought, right? And so just kind of walk me through how this came to fruition a little bit here.
So that's a great question. So something I tell my students is that relationship capital is more valuable than any currency.
Mm-hmm.
So the way that the relationship came about with Mar Vista Entertainment, which is the production company, and Tubi. So whenever you have a movie or a television show, you have a production company and you have a network. So
Okay.
there's two things.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so Mar Vista Entertainment is the production company. Tubi is the network. So a film school friend of mine who was a professor with me at the University of Georgia, he taught cinematography, and I teach directing and screenwriting. He had shot my last two short films. He introduced me to the executive at Mar Vista. Her name is Brittany Clemens, young African American executive, brilliant and a joy to work with. He introduced me to her, and I pitched her several projects, several ideas, and she passed on every single one of them. And at the same time, the script that I adapted from my sophomore novel, Snitch, she
Mm-hmm.
liked it and sent it up the chain. And that's how I got the assignment to write and direct Twisted Marriage Therapist. So something that I also tell,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
my students is that if you write a script, even if you don't sell it, if it leads to other work, it's still successful. So I haven't sold Snitch. I plan and expect and hope to, make Snitch into a film, and also my debut novel, Unsigned Hype, into a film. But Snitch, though I haven't gotten it made, it led to Twisted Marriage Therapist, and also, my buddy Garland McLaren, who's now a cinematography professor at SCAD, Savannah College of Art and Design. He was responsible for hooking me up with Brittany, and
Mm-hmm.
the rest, as they say, is history.
Okay, all right, okay. And so now they still have the writer's strike and all of that. So nothing's happening in the motion picture world. See. So did you have any hesitation with any of this? Was there any challenges that you had for you to bring this to fruition?
The good news is that we shot this movie. We shot May 2nd through June 3rd,
Okay.
and after we wrapped, we we were seeing what was happening with the actors strike. So we did ADR, and ADR is automatic dialogue replacement. That's whenever you have to bring the actors in if, say, a line wasn't clear, or you
Hmm.
need them to do additional lines. But you need the actors to do that. You can't bring in someone else in to for that. So because we saw what was happening with the strike, we did our ADR early, which was great. So we
Hmm.
got our ADR done before the strike, so we're able to continue with post and get it done. And people are really going to start feeling the impact of the strike, here very soon, because shows that you expected to, come back in the fall,
Hmm.
you're going to start, hey, wait a minute, where are my shows? Why are we watching reruns?
Hmm.
Why, unscripted shows, exploding. So with this film, the timing was right, that we got it done in advance of the strike happening. And I don't know this for sure, but initially the film was supposed to premiere August 24th, and it got pushed to September 7th. I don't know if that had anything to do
Hmm.
with content and that kind of a thing, but we were supposed to come out earlier than we did. But we made it, and we got it done in that pocket of time, before everything shut down.
Hmm. And for your casting, where did you mostly pull from your casting? Did you find that you had more than enough, or were you still having some slim pickings for your casting and crew?
Well, one of the first people that you hire when you're making a feature length film is a casting director.
Hmm.
So our casting director, Ricky Maslow, her job is to, she has relationships with talent. So when you send out the character breakdown, which lists all of the characters, their age, ethnicity,
Hmm.
etc. Hey, there's Lashira. Hello, Lashir.
Yeah.
Um, and then so she has relationships with the actors' agents, and
Mhm.
then the actors will take the sides, which are the portions of the script that they will read for an audition, and they will then do what are called self tapes, which you all may have heard that term, self tape. And then I get all of the self tapes, and then I have to go through them. And the way that it works with Tubi is I have to choose my top three for each role, and
Mm.
ultimately decide, from that top three, who they think is best for the part. So yeah, it's never an issue, finding talent. It's the opposite is true. I mean, you sometimes you're looking at actually like, wow, I really like her or I really like him.
Mhm.
But, you have to narrow it down to your top three, and everyone works differently. Sometimes. The director, if you have more power,
Mhm.
you're like, all right, this is who I want, and that's the way it
Right.
works. I contrast that with, for example, The Sound of Christmas. Neo, Soraya, and Drea Michelle. We had made offers and went through several other actors, and those were the three that we wound up getting. And one of our producers was, for example, responsible for getting Neo. So it wasn't like I went out and said, "Hey, Neo, you want to be in the movie?"
Mhm.
Every studio, network, streamer, uh, production company is different in how you wind up getting the cast. And then with the rest of the cast for The Sound of Christmas, it's the same deal.
Mhm.
George Pierre, the casting director, sent in reams of self tapes, and then I chose from among them. And I didn't have to do a top three with the BET Plus film. I just picked the people that I wanted.
Okay. So with you having to pick three people for each part, what was the main ingredient that you felt like what made these? Because it's really with the three main people. I mean, there's some more people in there, but there's three main people in this film. So, um, what was the ingredient that made them work versus anybody else?
Yeah, it's really a wonderful experience when you're auditioning. And I came of age in in the era where auditions were all done in person, and it's just the vibe and an energy. And when they do it, you just say, that is, Dr. Yo, that is
Yeah.
Liam. It's just like, I guess, when here's something else, and I know I constantly reference my students, but I think it's instructive. But I tell my students in my directing class that the partnership with an actor is very much like a marriage, and the courtship begins from the moment they walk into the audition room.
Hmm.
So it's just like whenever you meet a mate, it's like, he's the one.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
there's no explanation. Well, how did you know that he was the one? As soon as he hit that door, I knew that was going to be my husband. Or as soon as she walked in, I knew I was going to marry her.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's the way it works. And it's the same thing when you're watching a self tape. It's like, whoa, she really nailed that. And I did a post today on my Instagram and Facebook where it said, never have I written a role so perfectly suited for an actor's gifts and abilities. And I was talking about Maya,
Hmm.
playing Dr. Yo. She, as the old saying goes, you say somebody put their foot in something. Hey, it's Joan Vassar, my good.
Hey, Joan, how are you? Good to see you out there.
Maya put her foot in that role. She did a great job. So Maya Abney, who was one of the Dora Milaje, so she was in Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, Black Panther, and what was it, Endgame and Infinity
Mhm.
War?
I
Uh,
don't know about that, but I know
yeah,
Wakanda. Yeah.
yeah. So she plays Dr. Yo. Perez Lass, who is best known for my Mayor of Kingstown with Jeremy Renner, he plays the husband Liam. And
Hmm.
Jennifer Sears, who actually was in The Sound of Christmas, she played Alexis, the one who has cancer.
Hmm.
So she plays the wife, and Bree Weber, who I had never worked with before. She's been in lots of television shows. She plays the show producer Tanya.
Yeah. I have to agree with just from seeing the trailer. I've watched it a couple of times, and you know the therapist seems very comfortable in her role of destruction. So I cannot wait to see, everything how it all comes together. But yeah. So now now that you have finished the film, what else do you have to do? So once you finish a film, it's set to go to live. what do you yourself have to do? So what is the background
Sure,
groundwork?
sure. What I do now is, my own personal marketing through social
Okay.
media. So I utilize my LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram to
Mm-hmm.
promote the film. So each day I'll have a different post either, and I alternate between a story and a post because you also don't want people to get promotion fatigue.
Mm-hmm.
So I try to I have images, I have captions.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm the consummate promoter, which is something that, yeah, it's same thing
Yeah.
with authors. You have to promote your work, but really the work is done. I was in Los Angeles July 24th through August 5th to complete post production. So for the color timing and visual effects and the mix. So once that was done, essentially I was done. Now you just wait for it to come out, and you're curious to how the audience will react to the work.
Okay. Are you having any release parties or anything?
Yes. Yeah, so my first cousin is having a watch party at her house in Charlotte.
Okay.
I'll tell you how that came about. So my son, his name is Truth. He's a freshman at Livingstone College in Salisbury, North Carolina, and his first cross country meet. He's on a cross country scholarship there. His first cross country meet is Friday, the
Mm-hmm.
8th. So my wife and I are driving up on Thursday because the meet is Friday morning. So Salisbury is about 30 minutes from Charlotte. So my cousin, her name is Tranisha Wilder.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if she's on, but shout out to Tranisha. She just got married, and her husband were already going to have a watch party anyway. So since we have to go through Charlotte to get to Salisbury, I said, "Hey, you know, uh,
Okay.
we'll come through," because I already told her that I would, pop in via Zoom and introduce the
Mm-hmm.
movie. So a couple of people who I know who are having watch parties, I'm going to beam in via Zoom just to introduce the movie. And the cool thing, because it's streaming, anyone can watch it whenever they want. So
Right.
I'll
Right.
pop in and say, "Hi, I'm Booker T. This is what the movie's about. Thank you for watching." But in the case of my cousin, we're going to be there, so that's going to be a nice turn up. I'll be
That
there
will
with
be.
people,
Yeah.
yeah, that I haven't met yet, so it'll be cool to experience watching the film with them. So yeah, that will be my watch party, and it's one that I don't have to plan, neither do I have to clean up after it's over.
Oh, well, that is always good. Now, okay, so I mentioned earlier that you wear all of these hats. What would you say you're most comfortable in?
For me, writer director, it's essentially one job, and so my screenwriting students, for example, I'm always trying to convert my writing students to be writer directors, and here's the
Mhm,
analogy that I use. I liken if you're a screenwriter and you're not a director, I liken it to you conceive the baby, you carry it around for 9 months, and you go through all the pain and difficulty and emotional turmoil, and then you birth the baby and you hand it over to someone to raise it, the director. So
mhm.
for me, I conceive it, I carry it around, emotional turmoil, difficulty, challenges, but then when I birth it, then I raise it too. So
Yeah.
for me, the only thing that I've directed that I didn't also write was a short film that I did called Ungabani, Who Are You, which is actually streaming on All Black. But a buddy of mine from film school wrote that. But everything that I direct, I also write. So those two go hand in hand for me. So I would say that those two roles together
Mhm.
are what I'm most comfortable with. And I call myself an accidental novelist because though I started writing my first novel when I was 9, but I didn't know what a novel was. I didn't anticipate writing two novels, and I haven't published one since 2011. And maybe I'll write another one in the future. I don't know. But I'm most comfortable as a writer director, and even as a professor. I teach directing and screenwriting. I teach what I do, and I enjoy that.
Mhm.
But I'm most comfortable when I'm well. You know what? I was going to say I'm most comfortable when I'm writing a script or on set directing. But I'm going to say that I'm most comfortable on set directing because writing the script is so incredibly challenging that woo, and it's what I call a necessary evil because I have to write in order to direct.
Mhm.
But you know what? So okay, so as I'm answering your question, I guess it just came to me. Uh, I guess I would say I'm most comfortable as a director only because I enjoy directing even more so than writing because writing is far more difficult than directing.
Yeah, and that's why I asked the question earlier, like how do you deal with, people like challenging you on something that you've written and now you're directing, they feel like they can do something or seem better a little bit. That's
Yeah,
why I asked the question, because I noticed that most things you do, you either writing it, you're directing it as well, so you have your hands in it at all times. And most people were like that. They don't want to give it up. You know what I mean? Like, you
right.
want to juggle those and make sure that your vision is what is actually put forth. Yeah. So that's
Well,
why I asked the question before. Joan Vassar says you're a great teacher, and I think from listening and talking to you from before, it appears that you do a very good job, and because you are so passionate about what you do, so that comes off, I'm sure, in your teaching, because I felt that before when I talked to you.
that's
Yeah.
great. And let me add something because to your point about the vision, it's very much a partnership, not only with myself and the actors, but also with the cinematographer, with the costume designer,
Hmm.
with the hair and makeup department. So the you only can lead as well as you can serve.
Hmm.
And for me, I empower my team because I'm not an editor, right? But I have to direct the editor.
Yeah.
But I want the editor to take ownership. So the editor for this, Bridget Smith, who I absolutely adore, I give her credit and power to bring her ideas. Same thing with the cinematographer. Same thing with the actor. So even if an actor has, for example, getting to the heart of your question, let's say an actor, and you do hear this, my character wouldn't do that. I don't just say, "Well, I wrote it, just do it." Right?
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
the way that I handle that most often is okay. Well, okay, so let's get what's on the page. So that's the first take, and then the second take, you can try it your way. So then we have
Yeah.
ways, and usually that works, because the idea that, oh, I wrote it, so I know it better than you doesn't make sense. Because when you cast well, the actor actually knows the character better than you. Notice I said when you cast well, the actor knows the character better than you and can do it better than you.
Hmm.
And that's also something that, with my directing students, they get it, by the end of the semester. But initially it's kind of like, hey, what do you mean? I wrote it. I know it better than they do. Well, you know what? So using you as an example, I can offer you suggestions and feedback, right? And I can even
Hmm.
help you improve some things perhaps, but I can't
Hmm.
tell you how to be you, right?
Right.
So when you're
Right.
casting this character is not Fred or Jane or Sally. This character is who this person is. And
Hmm.
they're inhabiting their emotions. They're inhabiting their experiences to make this character real. So
Hmm.
I'm like the coach. I'm not on the field making plays. That's the actor. No one pays to see
Gotcha.
me. My job is to devise a winning game plan and put the actors in a position to win, and that's what they do when you cast well and when me as the director is working at a high level.
Mhm. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Hi, Deborah. Thanks for joining us. And we are talking about Twisted Marriage Therapist, which is Booker's latest film that is going to be airing on Tubi on September 7th. What time?
Well, when the clock strikes midnight, September 7th, boom, it'll be available.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, so as
Okay.
soon as
Okay.
that's the stroke of midnight, you can tune in, and I know with like the Sound of Christmas, I believe that one didn't start till like noon on the day that it was released. So we're like, what time? What time? We're like, I don't know what time, and it was around noon. But apparently with Tubi, anytime on the 7th, from then on, you can tune in and check it out. And Deborah, please let me know what you think of it when you check it out.
Yeah. Now, before when we talked about your other film, you juggle a lot of different things, because you said that, when you're teaching, when you're not teaching, you're writing and you're doing that. So how did this come about? Were you on a break when you were able to get most of this done, or how did you balance that time with all of that?
Well, the writing part was during the semester, so this came
Hmm.
about where I started writing. It was last August, and that's whenever I started the writing process. And then, so the way that this worked, I did an outline, two drafts, actually three drafts of the outline, and then Tubi actually paused the the project. I thought it was done. I thought it was over.
Okay.
Yeah, they put a pause on it because they were concerned with how mental health was being treated in the story. And it doesn't matter, what I thought. That was the network's call.
Hmm.
I'm very respectful of counseling and mental health. So I want to put that out there. So it wasn't something where
Yeah.
I was blasting or shaming or anything like that. I have family members who are in counseling and who are counselors.
Hmm.
But it doesn't matter. They paused it. I thought it was done, and I think it was paused for maybe 2 months.
Hmm.
Right around the time when the trailer for The Sound of Christmas came out, which was, I guess it was November.
Yeah, November. Yeah.
It kickstarted, and I started writing again and again. This is during the semester, so I have my two classes, and then I'm writing. And so I did then two more drafts of the outline, and I went to the script. They finally greenlit me to go to script in January, and
Hmm.
the script. I think I was finally done in the end of April, and then we went into production in May. So my classes ended May 2nd, and then I was on a plane going to Arkansas for prep. So we shot in Little Rock, Arkansas, though the movie is set in Atlanta. Uh,
Okay.
so this one worked out where my classes were over when I
Over.
was in
Yeah.
production. But The Sound of Christmas, that happened during the spring semester. So fortunately, my department, the chair and the dean, I have to find substitutes for the classes that I miss. So I had substitutes to cover the courses while I was shooting, and then once we are done shooting, I'm back in class whenever we're doing post production.
Okay. And now with them stopping the film because they had some concerns, did you have to rewrite anything
Oh,
or?
100%. 100%. So a page one rewrite is it's a screenwriting term where you essentially you completely start from scratch. The only thing you're keeping are the characters and sometimes the basic premise, other times not. So I had to do the equivalent of a page rewrite, but for the outline. So we changed initially the wife was the protagonist. So when
Mm,
we came back, then the therapist was the protagonist. So it was a complete page one rewrite, and we took the story in a completely different direction. So yeah, the initial movie that I was that I was writing is not the movie that you'll see on Thursday. But I'm very pleased with this new direction with
okay.
the protagonist being Dr. Yo as opposed to the wife, whose name is Armika, which incidentally, Armika is a former student of mine. Her name is Armika, so I just like that name, and it's a cool name. So I gave the character the name Armika.
Okay.
Yeah,
I,
Armika, tell us that Armika, we're about to make your name famous.
I was going to ask if you ever use your students in any part of your projects.
I do, and the irony being, Twisted Marriage Therapist and The Sound of Christmas were the first two where I did not. Every
Okay.
other project before that, I used either current or former students, because
Hmm.
it's one thing to teach students how to do things; it's another thing to provide them with opportunities to come alongside and help you to create
Hmm.
something. But in the case of The Sound of Christmas, because we were shooting during the semester, and the university is in Athens, and we shot in Atlanta, and that's about an hour, 15 hour and a half away.
Okay.
And it was during the semester, so I didn't have students involved. And then with Twisted Marriage Therapist, like, okay, wow, okay, great, we'll be able to have students this time. And it was in Little Rock, so no one was hopping on a plane and flying to Little Rock to be on
Okay.
the crew. So these last two were the first ones where I didn't have either current or former students working on it.
Okay. And so how would someone get a hold of you, or do you still do adaptations of books? But say if someone wanted to get a hold of you to say, they had a book or something like, because I'm really into books.
Mhm,
So
mhm.
um, how would they get a hold of you, and how would that process work, if you can say?
Sure. So Lashira, my buddy, who's now a dynamite literary agent. So
Yeah.
yeah, through literary agents, through I've had editors approach me, but individual authors. I mean, unless I know them, like Tiffany and I were very good friends. The best way would be either through a literary agent or through the editor of your publisher. Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. All right. Well, I want to thank you too for coming on. It just I cannot wait until this, and I'm so glad that I got the network so that I can look at it, because oftentimes I don't have it, and I'm having to have to scrummage up and getting and doing like free trials or something
Right.
like that.
Right.
So this one I'm very excited because I do have that channel, so I'm excited to watch it. So now tell us what's next for you, because I know you didn't just start this and not doing anything else. So
Right.
what else you got in your hopper?
Well, I'm developing my next one, which is it's going to be a thriller, not a psychological thriller. It's going to be a bit different than Twisted Marriage Therapist. So I'm just in the early stages of developing that, and I'm hoping that this strike will end soon so that everyone can get back to work and
Yeah.
make another picture.
Yeah, yeah, that is. I can't wait for that to start too. I think the strike is kind of just the things that's going on with that is spilling over into other things too.
Mhm.
So we just needed to be settled down. So yeah, so I am so excited for you. I am wishing you much success in all you do, and I'm hoping that with this you made it to getting nominated, and I'm hoping that this one does get a nomination, and you move forward to getting the award. I feel like I said from the trailer, I'm intrigued to watch this. I might be reaching out to you saying,
Oh, please do. And that for everyone who's tuned in, I love hearing from people who watch the work. So reach out to me on Facebook, social media.
Mhm.
Facebook or Instagram is where I am mostly. I'd love to know what you think. If you have questions, I'm happy to answer those.
Okay, so Facebook and Instagram is where you are most.
Yep.
Okay,
And it's
so
Booker T Madison at Booker T Madison for both. So I'm not hard to
okay.
find.
Okay, all right, good. Now, everyone, please make sure you go out and watch it. It's September 7th. It's airing on Tubi. It's a free streaming, so you should have it on there. You can watch it on your computer, your tablet, anything. And it's Twisted Marriage Therapist. And I do have, if you go to my website, there is a link to see the trailer. The trailer is quite intriguing. So if you watch that, I'm sure you're going to want to watch the movie. So do that. September 7th at midnight, it starts the airing. So anytime after midnight, you can watch this, and anytime after, because it's just going to be on there. So check it out. If anybody wants to like talk about it, we can always come back. Maybe have Booker come back and talk about some of the things that happen. We'll do like a Zoom chat or something like that, just like we do our books. We'll just do
Love
that.
you.
Yeah. So again, thank you so much for coming on and taking the time to let us know. We are very proud of you.
Thank you.
And keep doing what you're doing. We love to keep up with you. So if you guys follow him on social media so you can keep up with the other projects that he has coming out, yeah, and stay involved with everything. Hi Carolyn, how are you? Great, thank you for coming out. Again, Carolyn, I don't know if you came in. Sun, we're going to be watching Twisted Marriage Therapist, September 7th. It is airing on Tubi, Tubi,
Yep.
Tubi,
Tubi. Yep.
Tubi, Tubi. And it's a free streaming network that you can get on your computer, TV, or whatever. So make sure you check it out, support him, and then let's come back and talk about it when you all have time after you watch it. So thank you. Any last words to the people?
Well, thank you so much for you having me on. Thank you for those who tuned in to hear me blather on about
Yeah.
Twisted Marriage Therapist, and I'm really excited for you all to see it because it's a Black woman protagonist, and I don't know that we've seen a Black woman protagonist like we have with Dr. Yo. So I'm very curious to see what you all think about Dr. Yo and about the film overall.
Yeah, and definitely this twist that you offer us, we have not. If we've seen it, we don't see it very often. So this is going to be exciting to watch. Hello there, Miss Natalia. Nice to meet you.
Natalia.
Nice to see you out there. So again, check it out. I'll be posting again on my Facebook. And again, go to my website. And if you click on the picture, it'll give you the YouTube version of the trailer. Check it out. I'm sure you will be intrigued. Okay. All right. So good night, everyone. Have a great evening. Be safe and always be kind. We'll talk to you soon. Bye
Take
bye.
care, everyone. Bye.